Hi everybody, and welcome back to the Rewind. And for today, we'll be talking about the current state of gaming. So, my guest for today is Devon van Sale, also aka fellow gamer and my brother. How's it
The
going?
smarter one. Right in you, man.
Good. Not too bad. I thought that we should have this discussion. I think there's a lot happening at the moment in the gaming space, and I think first of all, I'd like to know what are you playing at the moment?
At the moment, I'm mixing my time between Fortnite, which I just recently started playing, and then Resident Evil 2, the remake.
All right, very nice. Entertaining. Are you finding the Fortnite? How's the Fortnite for you?
Yeah, when I started up, I was like, Fortnite, really? But a friend of mine was playing it, and he suggested, it's a lot of fun to play, like online. And I had no idea it was so much fun. It could be so much fun. You still have these crazy ass, what do they call them, alphas, um, really competitive players in there, but most of the time it's just bunch of guys looking to have fun. So it's very enjoyable and entertaining.
All right, excellent. That's good to hear. I think that actually, works well into what we're going to talk about today. Just the general sense of what's happening in the gaming industry, and I think for two guys who, unknowingly grew up in this. Actually, what's now considered gaming history. We lived through the whole period, and I think it's a good perspective to have when you make this kind of judgment and sort of weigh in on what's happening in the industry and what's going to happen in the future. So, how do you see it? How do you see
Yeah,
modern gaming at the
absolutely. Like
moment?
I said to him last night. Well, I actually have a tweet here that I saw this week from Jules Gill from the Future Game Show. Someone asked him to describe the state of gaming, and he puts it perfectly. He says, the AAA chokehold, lack of ingenuity, spiraling costs, metrics of success above any reasonable level, and devs are punished for not making billions for each title. He says, death to the yearly franchise, down with AAA slop, long live AA/indie games. And that's just a summary of the state in which the gaming industry finds itself at the moment. Um, it's crazy. I don't know if you heard about all the layoffs that they've been recently. Microsoft alone has laid off over 1,000
Mm.
people. And it reminds me of a quote I heard recently from an interview with Rick Rubin. He's a very famous producer, music producer. And he says adamantly, the moment that you start making something for someone else, it stops being art. And that's exactly what happened. They're making these games, these creations for a specific target, and there's no creativity anymore. There's no, wow, that's a cool mechanic. When last have you said that about a AAA game?
Yeah.
A great
Yeah. No,
example of that is something like Anthem, because it was supposed to be this next level, next generation, something extraordinarily new, and it came out half finished, without any direction, without anything to do, an empty world, and that sums up what's happening now. The game designers, the
yeah.
developers are chasing money and nothing else.
Yeah, that's the problem. But I think let's take a step back and sort of just evaluate the era that we came from. It's absolutely true what you said, but how did this happen? I mean, we come from an era where we played the SNES, we played the Nintendo consoles, and then it sort of just disappeared at some stage, and we all like switched over to the PC. I don't know if you remember, we had that old computer with the Windows 95 one, and
Yes,
they
yes,
came
yes.
standard loaded on with a bunch of demos. And I mean, I just think back games like that. The games were much smaller. They looked great. They were much smaller, and even though they were just demos, you could just continuously play them. And just, I think that the essence is that it was fun. It's fun to play this game.
Yeah, yeah. Because I remember the first game that we bought together was Doom, and it was still on a Steffi drive.
Yeah, that small, and it was enjoyable. Now
That's
AAA
small.
games, I mean, when you buy it on the store, I mean, how long does it take to download? First of all, so you can't even play it when you buy it. You have to wait
Yeah,
like a whole day,
you have to wait.
and then it turns out to be yeah, bad. But
Yeah,
the
like
thing is that
the most
I
horrible
think we
experience I
mentioned
had.
this.
I and before that even I promised myself I would never pre-order a game because the state of the things that come out, and I mistakenly bought The Last of Us Part Two, pre-ordered it, and yeah, it looked great, it played great, and then it's just this horrible story where they force you to be this character that no one cares about, no one knows about, and they forced you in the story direction that just all of it's forced and all of it's just nonsensical, completely disappointing nonsense.
Yeah, and if you take into consider how much money you have to fork out for those titles just to be disappointed, and it's a trend that's been going on, like the games being put out incomplete, finished, and they just don't seem to care. They'll just patch it later with the DLC that they'll have to give out
Yeah, it's
for
fine.
free.
It's
They're not
fine.
going to charge you anything for it because we're very, very sorry.
Yeah, yeah,
You know, And I think the main thing for me that's created this state is absolutely the corporations' infringements in creativity. I think we've seen it in film where they just look at the data and they just go on that and they just pump out this load of nonsense and expect people to like it. And what I'm grateful for is that the consumers are not falling for this nonsense. They just stop buying the game, or
yeah.
they'll just ignore the franchise until they find it on a discount somewhere.
That's what's happening because that's what I do. Because you can't pay that amount of money. Because another trend that's happening nowadays is you get a full price game, but then like a free game, you have to buy all of this stuff to get the full experience. So
Yeah.
that's acceptable for a free to play game because you need to buy that stuff to enjoy it because that's how they make money. But you can't sell me a full price new game and then I also have to fork out another same amount. If you've paid like 1,500 rand for this game and then you still have to pay another 500 just to play the thing, that doesn't make sense. You're stealing from me.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, it feels like they extorting you, and
Just
that's it.
talk again.
It just seems like absolute corporate greed. It's not about the consumer anymore. They want to sort of prescribe what you might like. And
Yeah.
I've recently sort of an example like that for me is the fact that triple A games. I mean, I've started a bunch of them. I haven't finished most of them, and we spoke about it the other day. Is why I take the Ghost of Tsushima as an example. I love the game. I thought the mechanics were great. The graphics were fantastic. It's a really fantastic game, but I had to force myself to finish it so that I can say, yes, I finished it. But it's work.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
work.
And like I said the other day, it's not fun. If you have to work, then what's the point? You know. And it goes back to your point about the PlayStation 2 era games. Those studios were trial and erroring every sort of mechanic they can think of. They were being really creative and just giving us loads and loads of entertainment. And I said last night to my friend, playing this Fortnite together with him is almost like the co-op games we had back then. The difference is we were then in the same room, but they don't focus on that. There's not a lot of games you can play couch co-op anymore, and it was a part of it. I mean, like you talked about SmackDown versus Raw, and even things like Tekken, SSX, games like that. It was just a whole lot of fun. You're sitting around with all your friends playing at the same time, and that experience is missing from the AAA dynamic at the moment.
Yeah, no. Look, if you look at how many of the studios have been absorbed over the years, and the layoffs and stuff, and it just like it feels like the big corporations are coming in. They look at the data and they just decide, all right, we need more of that, and they're forcing single player game developers to replicate the success that something like Fortnite has had. And it's two different departments for me. It's absolutely not the same thing.
No,
And they're forcing
absolutely,
these
and
developers.
it's even worse than that. Um, if you look at something like Darksiders, which is supposed to be, I think when they started making the first one, they were looking to make a quadrilogy, and the first two are single players games, and the third one also. But what they did was they went, you know what? Dark Souls is selling really well. Let's make a game like that, but let's make it Darksiders, and it's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. It's not Darksiders anymore, and it's just crap. It's just a waste of your time and money.
Yeah, and I think they confuse the fact that, okay, we've got an established IP, and this is what makes it work. This is what the consumer likes about the game. They just completely morph it into something else, and something that players aren't used to. It sort of tarnishes the IP, and they. The thing is, why haven't they smarted up to this? Because people, they react to this. The consumers react to this, and they just. That's why the studios close down. That's why they fail. These projects fail because the public rejects it because they've tarnished our connection with it.
Yeah, if you look at something like Assassin's Creed, which was basically the same game every year, um, Ubisoft lost a lot of money with I think it was Unity was the last one, and they were like, "Well, let's just take a break," and they left it for like 2 years, and they came back with it with Origins, which was a lot different and a lot better. But even that, it's hammering on the same thing. There's nothing really new going on. They changed a bit of the fighting mechanics and the period, and um, those games they keep on focusing on the wrong things. You just want to be in that period, that time period, and playing there, and you don't want to go back to our time with some moron that's got nothing to do with the past. Like I don't know why they did that, but anyway. It's the same thing. If you can,
Yeah.
if you go with something successful for too long, it's gonna have the same result because that doesn't help you at all. We get bored with it and then we don't buy it anymore. And but the problem
Yeah,
is,
that's
people aren't talking enough their wallets.
yeah, but why have they not looked at making a new IP? I mean, why just keep on doing the same? It's like the laziness of Electronic Arts with the sports games like FIFA. I mean, you've never in your life seen a lazier franchise than that. but still, I'll still play it. The graphics are updated a little bit, but the thing is, it's still the same old gameplay. It's still the same old functions. There's nothing new, and each year you're expected to upgrade to the newer title. So I'm still playing 2020's version. It makes no difference because
Yeah.
the 2023 version is probably still the same. They just look better. Doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Just doesn't matter.
basically double the price. It's, um,
Yeah, but I bought the 2020 version for $40. So, you know,
yeah,
I'm not going to
no,
spend
it's
money on
at
a
this
new
hard
one. Why?
stage.
Why would I? Because they're not making any effort.
Yeah,
It's
what
just
you,
updating the game a little bit, smoothing out the mechanics, and here you go. I'm not going to
yeah.
pay for that. I'll just play
No,
the
no,
older
no, you
version.
shouldn't. Because it's even worse than that, and I think there's a through line from you that you can take from the gaming industry and put it right through to all other media like music and movies. It's this corporate, um, what do you call it? Interference. I don't know if you heard when the Star Wars games were at the high with LucasArts, when they were still making their own games. They had the multiplayer Battlefront, and then they made a second game, Battlefront
Yes, the
2.
Battlefront
And if
disaster.
they re-released the games now, remakes, which is absolutely unplayable. So my question is, how do you take something like that, which was working, you do that?
Yeah, that's that. I think that's another very good point. Is why are we seeing so many remakes? You spoke about the RE2. We're both playing the RE2 remake at the moment, and it's fantastic. It's because they really did. They put their heart and soul. That's one thing about Capcom and their RE franchise. They really put a lot of time and effort into it. Okay, yeah. So why do you reckon there's so many remakes? Are people sort of longing for the past, and the studios go, okay, hey, we can just revamp the IP and make some more money? But why do we feel compelled to long for those games? Why would we? What do you think?
I think mainly because a bunch of us were idiots and didn't keep our own old consoles. That's got something to do with it. But on the other side of that coin, I don't understand things like remaking Last of Us Part 2. They're even talking about remaking
Yeah,
Horizon Zero Dawn, which is not even 10 years old. I mean, you
it's
know,
like the studios don't trust that they'll get the same success with a new IP. They don't
but
trust
that's the
that they can
thing.
come up with
If
good
you take
ideas
movies
anymore.
for an example, we are hungry for something new, something different. It's the same in the gaming space. We want something new, something different, something that will blow your mind. Not the game I've played before looking better, which is exactly the same game I
Yeah,
have. So I don't
yeah.
understand what is this obsession.
Except if you
Because
if you yeah, except if you didn't play the original, and you can't find a copy now, and you get a remake, and you're like, okay, you know, at least I can experience it in some capacity. But yeah,
but
like you
that's not
said, I mean, how many times have they remastered or remade The Last of Us? I mean, isn't that just a waste of time and money?
absolutely, absolutely, completely
Because you've played the
unnecessary.
game. I mean, what more do you? I'm not going to buy three versions of the same game.
No, no. It's
Why would
just
you do that?
I'm speechless. Actually, I don't know what to say. When they
Yeah.
and they do shit like this, and it's really idiotic when they just ignore something that can make them really good money, which is something like SSX. I mean, Tricky is such a fantastic game.
Yeah.
Just remake that. Just remake that and give us that. like they did with Tony Hawk 1 and 2.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Exactly. Or like a Burnout 3, just sort of polish it
Yeah.
and yeah, let us have it.
Or make a new one.
Just revitalize the franchise. I think
Yeah.
yeah, that should be the aim. It's just sort of shake up the franchise a little bit. But they're ignoring, and it just shows you that the corporate business has no understanding of of the gaming space and what the
Yeah,
consumers want
absolutely.
and need.
Absolutely. At the forefront of that is Microsoft,
Another thing,
because they released a new console which is fast and it's got all this bells and whistles without any games.
yeah, and it just seems like this thing is happening more and more. Um, Look, I think that the next thing that we're probably coming to is the disappearance of physical media. And and I also see this as a corporate move. First of all, the booklets disappeared out of the hard cases, probably to save
Yes.
money, printing costs, And now they're sort of trying to eradicate ownership of the physical media. Now, these games they're actually just physical licenses that I have permission to play them if they're still working.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much the same as a digital copy. However, if the digital copy gets delisted, then it's gone.
Yeah.
And I feel myself, when you think about that, I sort of feel like I feel panicked. I feel panic come over me because what if I never get to experience that game for the first time, or again if I want to replay it?
Yeah.
They have total
Look,
control over that.
it's like what they did with the Warcraft remaster. They delisted the original version. They brought out this broken thing, and they literally forced everyone to play the broken one because you couldn't install or get the old version. It's horrible.
Yeah, you see exactly. You see that's the problem, and that's what makes I think that all the guys like us fearful of the way things are going now. But what do you
Yeah.
think about the fact that? Well, it's probably not a fact, but I have the notion that consoles will probably disappear as well in the future.
Well, it's really possible because where do they go from here? I think the graphics aren't going to get better. The technology is getting too expensive for them to go even faster. So where do they go? Where's the next target? Because Microsoft is already shifting to what do I call this?
I think in that regard, I think Nintendo has always been a company that's been on it. They've always been very conscious of the consumer and their needs, which is something you really have to commend about the company itself. They've always kept fun and the customer as the priority. And I think what
Yeah.
they've done with the Switch is probably the next step. Yeah, I don't think the consoles probably won't disappear, but they probably will change, and the way that we use
Yeah.
them will change.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
But how do you feel? How do
The
you
thing
feel
about
about physical media disappearing?
I think it's actually quite sad because I've been thinking about it. I'm quite jealous of you having PlayStation 2. I think that's something I would like to get again. If I think back on experiences I had with the games play that I played on there, it's
Yeah,
definitely. It was the great thing about that period of time is when gaming really took a foothold in the world as a separate entertainment, because it's the only entertainment we have that we can actually interact with. So in terms of like movie and music, is you are ingesting it passively, but with gaming you're actively participating. So it started in that era of becoming this whole entertainment section by itself, and it's really something to experience. I mean, I think back on those, and one of my fondest memories of gaming is I had the day off and I walked like, I don't know, maybe 10 Ks to a game store, and I bought the game and I got some takeaways, and I went home and I played the rest of that day, just play that game. It was such a great day. The same kind of day we're having today with all this rain going on, which is a perfect game day. And, it was just, that was something that blew my mind. It was Fahrenheit, and it was something new. This story driven, was this interactive story, almost walking simulator, but you have to make choices and decisions about what the character is doing, and it was something really different and very enjoyable. I don't know. I don't think we get that anymore, and that's part of the reason why I am enjoying Fortnite is there's no real hand holding tutorial. Like say, to press this button to do that. You have to figure this stuff out, and that's great. It's like it was back in the day. You had to figure out how to play the games for yourself.
Yeah, and die a lot while doing so.
Yeah.
But I have to say, I wasn't so conscious about the retro gaming space. I knew about it and stuff like that, and it just sort of didn't appeal to me because I was on the impression that new games, they're better, right? And it's just, we've lost something as time went on. And when I stumbled upon this console, it just sat on a shelf for a while, and I was like, just let's bust it open and see what. And it's just loads of fun, and especially for the kids, they really like the silly games, and that's the thing. There was something for everybody, and if you were looking for something different, you could find it. Nowadays, it's about, can I afford it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the price tag.
Can I afford a new experience?
Yeah, and it's got a massive influence, especially for us. Being so far behind the rest of the world, it makes it very difficult. It's a very expensive hobby. That's why there's so few PC gamers playing the newest stuff, because it's so way expensive. But even the PlayStation 5.
Really?
Yeah, like, because computer components.
Is it like the hardware, upgrading your hardware? Is that what's expensive?
No, the hardware is insanely expensive because nothing gets manufactured here. Everything's imported. And because there's such a huge boom since COVID, with the streaming, it's gotten so popular that the prices are inflated and everything is just more and more expensive.
I know, I kind of get that. But the thing that's bothering me about the physical media disappearing is the fact that what I would have done is, like in 2019, I saw Resident Evil come out, but I couldn't buy it because it was ridiculously expensive. So you'll hold out for years. Until you find it on the secondhand market for a decent price, and then you can pick it up. I'm just using an example. But now on the digital store, if you're not subscribed, and this is the other thing that we haven't talked about, is the subscription-based playing options, which is actually very convenient. It's not that expensive, and you have access to all these games. But if you wanted to purchase it, the digital copy, it will still cost you the same price, if not even more, than it did originally.
Yeah.
And you don't have that option anymore as a gamer to like wait until you find it years later, and then you can pick up a physical copy and it's yours, and yay, I got the game now. They're sort of removing that now. The second-hand market just sort of killing it.
Yeah, because of availability, the sales drive everything. So if there's no sales on physical media, then they're not going to focus on printing more copies. Like who buys a digital a hard copy? Who buys physical media from game anymore? Yeah. So
That's why
if
it's
you
gone.
go there, yeah, there's no place to go anymore. The brick and mortar stores are closing down.
Yeah. Yeah, and most retailers don't even stock physical media anymore. It's just no point because nobody buys it anymore.
Yeah.
I think probably because
Yeah.
it's either too expensive or they'll just wait for it to get to the second-hand market. Another thing I just want to touch on is the fact that I think we talked a little bit about the PlayStation 2, and for a really decent price you can pick up a bunch of games and a console still in a working condition. But I think another console that people are overlooking at the moment is the PlayStation 3.
Yeah, definitely.
And how ridiculously cheap it is to pick up games for it these days. It just seems like everybody's just looking for PS2 games and PS4 games now, and it's just completely missing the PS3.
Yeah, it's kind of
So
a
there's
forgotten
at least a
console.
market still that's open, and you can still collect for that console.
Yeah, because all of the remakes on the
But
PS4 is
once
from the PS3 era.
exactly most of it, right? Most of it, and that's what I don't get about. I don't see any reason why you should buy a PlayStation 5. There's no point for graphics, you know?
The only reason I would buy one is for that controller with the haptic feedback. That is something
For the
else.
controller.
It's something that's truly next gen. And of course the loading times. It's got an SSD in it, so the loading times are really quick. There's no waiting and waiting and waiting to get into the game. But other than that, like you said, there's no real reason for it.
Yeah, and it's backwards compatible, so you can still play the PlayStation 4 games. They're still releasing all the new titles on the PlayStation 4. So it's the same thing, when a new console comes out, I know, you just wait like 3 years before you. So you give the console time to build up a library, so when you actually step into that console space, there is actually something to play.
Yeah, yeah.
See, Microsoft,
Beyond the
that's how you do
price
it.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they
But,
they actually like market the Game Pass because of their backwards compatibility, because it's almost like a PC. So they go all the way back to the 360 games that you can play on their consoles. But it's retro gamers want physical media, so I don't think it's selling as well as they think it.
yeah, guys our age. And I think, we're very disgruntled about the fact that we won't be able to have the game. Because this is ownership for most people. I've got this game. Nobody
Yeah.
can take this away from me, This is mine.
It's a different
And
feeling.
well, I think the newer generation they don't care about it. They just don't care as much as we do
No,
about
no.
our childhood memories. For them, it's just digital is fine. I've got the game on my PlayStation 4. What more
Yeah,
do you want?
you don't get it, guys. I mean,
A hard
my friends
case
got
that can break.
my friends got this box that's full of Stiffy drives. It's stuff like that. They don't understand. He's got all these copies of the games that he got up on PC when he was younger. He's got this thick library with the CD discs. One of those pockets, like just with all of the
Yeah.
written games that he played on PC when he was younger. That's the nice
Oh
thing, though. I
man.
would say about
You see,
Steam and the Steam store. they have, but again, it's digital.
Mm.
But they have these massive collections of older games. Like
Yeah.
last month, they had
Yeah.
the entire Command and Conquer series, which is 17 games for $186.
Wow.
You know,
Yeah. I see.
so
Yeah, but
but again, it's
I suppose
digital.
there's
That's
still an element of ownership. Yeah, but
yeah,
it's still a manner of ownership. As long as you have that PC and its hard drive,
yeah.
is sorted.
Well, not even
But
that.
if it
As long as
crashes,
you
you
have
know,
your Steam account, because I haven't been on Steam in years, and
there's
recently I got
the
on
other
there, and
thing.
all of the games that I played on it previously are still there in my library. I can still play them and have access to them.
Yeah.
That's sometimes when we're stuck with Fortnite
Yeah,
and just massive update and we can't play it, then we play Left 4 Dead, and you know how old that game is.
yeah. Yeah. Nice. Well, yeah, I see. I think that with something like Steam, there's at least there is a platform that offers the retro gamers something, if not a physical copy, but you are able to play those games. So it's not lost forever.
Yeah,
I think most of the people, and I also keep a close eye on the collector space, especially for physical media for PlayStation games and Nintendo games and stuff like that. Especially the collectors, they go after the rare games and titles from Atlas and all that. But the thing is, those games are shit. That's why they're rare, because nobody played them, nobody wanted them,
it's like
and that's
eating.
why they
Yeah?
they kind of
Which
went
is
out of print. And then
just the worst
that
game
I
ever.
don't quite understand why shit games. Yeah, why shit games do actually have more value. I think on the
Yeah,
it's on the PlayStation 3 that one of the rarest games is called Africa, where you take photographs of wild animals. Now, how stupid does that game sound? Like it's wildlife photography game, but it's
ridiculous.
people pay through their necks for that game, and it's not to play it; it's just to put it on the shelf. So I think as a game collector,
Yeah,
you also need to like, really, dude, are you ever gonna
that's a
play this game? Is it any good?
that's
No.
that's a collector thing.
And there's this guy close by that sells like mint condition PlayStation 3 games. The thing is spotless, and okay, it's a horror title. Sure, there's a little bit of a premium, but the game is complete horseshit. It's a terrible game. I don't understand why in the collector space that a good game does not come into equation. It's only the rarity and condition.
I
It's
think
not the fact
I
of
think
whether
it's
it's good
like
or not.
I think it's about bragging rights. I got this. I have this, and no one else has this.
Yeah.
I'm the only one in the world that has it. I think it's something like that. But yeah, I would never do that.
Is it
if I'm not gonna
is the
play
game good? No, it's terrible, but I got this.
it, yeah, exactly. It's like your exorcist copy.
Yeah, so that I think there's like, and it's
You're not gonna open that. You
it's
have it.
understandable. I get that why people go for that. There's a lot of people that go for that mint condition kind of thing, and it's just personally I don't care. If I got the case and the disc and it is in there and it works, I'm happy. I don't even mostly care about a booklet, because what does
Yeah.
that mean exactly? It's just it's complete in box. Yes, sure, it's the good game.
Can I use it?
So yeah, that concept just a little bit lost on me. I can't fork
Yeah,
out
yeah.
$1,000 for a game that's not even good.
Yeah, no, I feel the same.
So yeah, I
If
think
you're looking at
I think
something like
between all
action
the
figures, I would never just keep it like in the
yeah
casing. I would take it out and display it like that.
no. because what use does it have then? Because you can even like, you don't even need the disc then. You can just,
Yeah. Yeah.
nobody will know.
Uh, that's
No,
something
but
I've been
I do
wondering about
understand. I do understand that some people like their collections.
on the newer games.
Sorry?
Including like the remakes. They have these special editions that is like $9,000
Mm.
for you get the statue. And how are those things doing? Is there a market for them?
Mm.
Because that would be something cool to own. But I suspect it will be also just too
Yeah,
expensive.
yeah. I think that depends on how infatuated you are with the game. Um, I very rarely see collections like that where people have multiple. It's just like kind of focused on one specific. I think it's probably like my collector's habits as well. Like I'll collect and collect until it gets expensive. I'll just park it and I'll start with something else. So I think it's probably very specific, dishing out those amounts of money and collecting in that space. That's what I think. Perhaps is probably the notion there. But like you say, that like that friend of yours has that Batman collection. I mean, it's a very niche. It's his
Yeah.
collection, and he needs more of these figures.
Yeah, and it's not something he's going to sell one day. He's not keeping them to sell them one day. He's collecting them for
Yes,
himself. And
yes,
but special editions I'm talking about, those things come with a metal case for the game. No disc
yes.
inside.
The hard
It's got a digital
metal
code on
cases.
the inside.
Yeah, but now you're serving both. You've got something for the collector and somebody for the digital guy who just wants to play
Yeah.
the game. Just a last point I want to raise quickly is the AAA gaming space. Would you as a gamer prefer that they rather take a step back to the double A's and be more creative in that space and just maybe just continue to make good games instead of focusing too much on the graphics and stuff like that? What would you prefer that, or what do you think they should? What's the next step?
Absolutely. If you take some things like the movie genre, for instance, if you look at something like the horror space, which is mostly comprised of indies, the 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 quality is not necessarily better, although sometimes it is, but the storytelling and the adventurous nature of trying something different is so much more creative than what you get in a mainstream movie with all of these big name asshole actors in. And I think it's the same with the games. If you look at the triple A's that's coming out now, a bunch of garbage that should be stabbed and burnt. Broken games, unfinished games, um, so games with the final chapter being locked behind a paywall, and stuff like that, which is stuff you don't get in a double A or in the indie space. It's maybe lower graphics
Mm.
or maybe just a more simple concept, but it's just better quality. It's just a better experience, it's better entertainment, and that's what we want at the end of
Yeah.
it. We want to have fun. We want, like, you're a father and I work, so the time we have to invest in games is limited. You don't want to spend that limited time on working your ass off. That's not what you want. You want to be entertained. You want to have some fun. Even if it's intense and your heart is pounding out of your chest, like in Resi 4, it's fun. It's entertaining. It's worth your time. And you didn't break a console or your controller because you're not skilled enough. You just enjoyed yourself.
Yeah, I think a good example of that is that game Control. which is really highly rated by people who play it. And it just shows you that you can still make a fun, good game. I think that the biggest thing that I'm getting a notion of this, people don't care that much about graphics. And I think this is probably something that they're too concerned about. Like we've both played Death Stranding for a bit, you know. It looks fantastic, but there's no motivation for me to ever finish it. I'm like, okay, I see what this is about. Looks great. I'm gonna play something else.
I've never wanted to be a postman, so that's.
Yeah, but I think on the other hand, I think it's also important that somebody like Hideo Kojima is still in the industry and doing weird shit like that, because it just sort of breaks away from the mainstream, and maybe I think that's where the magic happens, you know, when they're allowed to create and be creative. Yeah, it's probably not the most innovative game. And it is kind of in a way, because it's weird in that sense, and the lore is quite complicated. But you know, it's not for me. But there's plenty of people who enjoyed it, and I'm all for that. You know, I'm not going to criticize a studio for making a weird game that I don't understand. You know, probably lots of more intelligent people out there who can actually appreciate it. So, you know, I'm all for that. Like, make new stuff. You know, just keep in that vein and just make us new stuff.
Did you see the I'm not quite sure what to name it, but sort of like a multiplayer component, but you're not playing with someone. Let me just give you an example. You can build bridges because you get a bike after a while, and then traversing is then very difficult. So you can build a bridge, but you need to have the resources to build the bridge. So you can start the bridge, but then you need more resources. Then someone else who's playing the game somewhere in the world can finish your bridge for you. So that was a very cool mechanic. It was different and new. And I think that's just the difference between the American studios or the big AAA guys and the Japanese studios, because yes, that game is weird and its ending sucks. Apparently, it's one of the worst endings ever. But they're making a second one. But they also got him in to do a new Silent Hill game.
Excellent.
So that's getting someone that's really creative and thinks outside the box, keeping them in the industry. You know, getting the future. And again, it doesn't matter about the graphics. Because I think the graphics has peaked. It's not going to get any better than this. So we don't care about it anymore.
No, we don't. I thought that would bother me about going back to retro gaming, but it's just like that's the last thing on my mind. I'm just engaged in the gaming.
Yeah.
I think just to end off, I think just a last thing. What I just want to know what your thoughts are on you as a gamer. What are your preferences now? What are you looking for as a gamer? What is the game that you need right now?
Well, it's something that's got an excellent story and keep me engaged. That's what I'm enjoying about Resi 2 so much, is just as soon as you think, okay, I understand where this is going, now I got this, then something happens that just knocks you out of the park, and then you have to start almost all over again with just, what the hell is going on? Where am I going? How does this work? You know, that's fun. And it's probably not the greatest story ever, but that's fun. You know, it keeps you on your toes, and it's really enjoyable. And yeah, I do enjoy good stories like that God of War 2018 version. That was a great continuation and evolution of that franchise, taking it forward and giving us a fantastic story, and you know, bringing the graphics up. But it doesn't matter that much. I mean, if you look at something like Fortnite, it doesn't have the best graphics ever, but it doesn't matter.
It's about the game.
It doesn't take away from the game.
All right, awesome, man. Thanks very much for joining me today. It looks like we've run out of time. Really enjoyed this conversation.
Sure.
Thanks, Divan. Thanks very much for joining me today and giving me your insight. Very, very valuable insight. All right, guys, thanks very much for joining us today. If you would like us to wander a little bit more into the gaming space, please let us know in the comments below. Thanks very much, guys. See you next week. Bye.